BlogTalk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Mi-chael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Mi-chael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rakhma. Mi-chael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Mi-chael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Mi-chael and Jeanie Ryce.
And the truth that is rooted within me.
Well, hello, Jeanie. Are you there? Welcome to MindShifters Radio. My name is Mi-chael Ryce, and we're coming live from Heartland today. And thanks to the miracle of modern technology, I'm actually walking down a road in the Ozarks in southern Missouri at Heartland, and here we are on BlogTalk Radio. How amazing is that? And I assume that Jeanie's having some technical phone difficulties, being out in the boonies where we are. Our phones don't always reach where we want them to, so she may not be on, but I'm here, and we're here live from Heartland. We're in
I'm here. Can you not hear me?
Oh, hey, sweetie.
I was saying hi, but apparently there's a lag in time or something.
Okay. Cool. Welcome.
Yeah.
So we're at the Heart Center in Theodosia, Missouri, ready to begin the next level. Actually, the second to last day. We're in day 9 already of day 8 of a Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive. And so in order to facilitate the radio show, we've decided to do the show live from Heartland, and that's where we are. So welcome to the show. Jeanie, do we have any callers or anything happening in the chat room to be aware of?
No, it's really quiet right now. But we are on day 57.
Okay, of our celebration of Memorial Day.
Yep.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Tim.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing quite well, thanks. We're still waiting for the chat room to come up.
It should be up now.
Giving us some channel.
I'm showing it up. Do a refresh.
Yep, I just did another refresh, and there you go. We're there.
Isn't that amazing?
Things are beautiful out here in Illinois. And
are you having as hot a day in Illinois as we're having here in the Ozarks?
Well, what's your temperature down there?
Oh, it's probably, I don't know, it's up into the 90s anyway. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's warm.
Well, we've been way up into the 90s for the past week or more, and today we're predicted to be 88 as a high. So.
Oh, well, that's not as bad, is it?
No, we're getting a little bit of relief from what they're calling the pressure cooker we've been under. So the heat indices have been up in the hundreds, 115. So anyway, we're just cooking along here. Someone was about to talk about what we're doing with our Memorial Day observation.
Yes. What day was it, Jeanie?
It is 57.
57. So on day 57 of the celebration of Memorial Day, and for those who might be new to the show and don't know exactly what we're speaking about, on Memorial Day we decided that we would celebrate on a daily basis the process of Memorial Day by inviting everyone to honor those who have been murdered or forced to murder. Some other people call it killed like it's something better or different, but it really isn't. Those who suffered, been injured, and maimed in war, to be part of, everybody in the audience, to be part of the eradication of war from the planet. How could that possibly happen? Will happen when we humans eradicate hostility and fear. So the request is that each takes responsibility and is willing to remove at least one reality from your mind. Forget at least one reality based in some form of hostility or fear from your life today. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about with the forgiveness process, you go to our website, www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. First three links will tell you all about the forgiveness process, give you a walkthrough set of instructions with an MP3 of an earlier radio show. So we're at Heartland Live. We invite you to join that celebration. And today our topic in our intensive is moving into the area of creating consciously. And so we invite you to sit back, relax, and be part of that conversation. And we'll start out with everybody that's in our intensive audience with a how are you, and does anyone have anything exciting to share from your process? We had an awesome day. The day before yesterday, we did energy field work Saturday. Of course, you couldn't tap into that on the radio because we don't have a show on Saturday. And then yesterday, we did, everyone did energy field work on each other and did still point breathing. And today we're moving into the creative process, looking at how the conscious creative process works. Of course, probably the greatest atrocity done to us as human beings and that we've bought into down through the ages is that we've had hidden from us the fact that we are by nature creators, which is an idea, of course, everybody loves, except when the creation isn't going so well. And then don't we know whose fault it is and whose problem it is? And isn't their name always them? And, of course, I love to point out that if you've been through it 87 different times with 42 different people, you are the only one that's been there every time. Your creative process is about you. So has anyone made any discoveries about your creative process? One of the discoveries that Day made that she shared with us yesterday, which I thought was pretty cool, she had drawn, she'd been moving through some things that were a little less than love and drawn a picture with a number of hearts on it. And her conclusion that she walked around the room and shared with everybody was, love feels better. Hey, yes, it's a lot easier. So does anyone have anything to share with what's happening in the process? Yes, tell us.
Hi, Michael. Well, as you know, yesterday we were doing our still point breathing process, and we had partners, and we do various positions on the partner, and I have a wonderful partner who did a fabulous job for me. So I certainly wanted to reciprocate, and I just wanted to do a good job. And on a couple of the postures, he repositioned my hands to help me to show me where the correct place was. And so when we were sharing after the fact, I said that I was worried that I hadn't done a good enough job in being the facilitator. And you said, well, how does that look like your life? And so last night when we went back to the room, I'm like, okay, well, how does that look like my life? And started, however this came up. I recalled a time when I was 12 years old. I'm feeling a little emotional about this. I didn't feel emotional last night when I came up with this, but my mom and my sisters and I had moved back to the United States. We lived in Australia, and my sisters were teenagers, and they were turning wild, and we didn't have the structure that we had in Australia with our father around, and things were not going well in my observation. So I remember as a 12-year-old standing at the kitchen sink saying, And I said it very adamantly. I said, okay, from now on, I will be perfect. And so that has been the standard apparently running in my life since I was 12, and I was very adamant. Okay, everybody else is out of control, so I will be perfect. And so I can see very much how I, from that moment on, held myself to that standard and, worked so hard. Everything I did, I had to be perfect at. And pretty soon the rest of the family caught on that if they didn't do something, I'd do it because that was the standard. So everyone, would leave a mess everywhere and do all kinds of stuff. And I know Connie will clean it up. And, of course, I'm perfect, so I have to. And then during school, I had to be, have perfect grades. And, at work, I held myself to the standard of being perfect. And my boss caught on to that pretty soon. And he gave me the work of 5 people. And I did it. I would work 70 or 80 hours a week. He was quadriplegic, and he also had a sleep disorder. And so, for one thing, he didn't have a lot to do because he's quadriplegic. He couldn't really get out or anything. And for another thing, he couldn't sleep. So he worked 20 hours a day plus. Sometimes he'd go a few days without going to sleep and work. Well, I did that too. I would go at a minimum 2 nights a week without going to bed because I would just work. I would go to the office at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then everyone else would be down and go home. And I would keep working, and then he would I would stay in the office and keep working. And about 12 o'clock at night or whatever, he would call me. And then, because he was also narcoleptic, so whenever he did sleep, he slept during the day, and he was always up all night. So then he would call me, and we would start doing his work at around midnight or so. And then I would work till 6 or 7 in the morning when we got done. And then I would go back to the office and keep working.
How's all that feel?
Very painful.
Just help you with that feeling all the way. Just take a minute and breathe and go into that feeling.
And I did this for years and years. And, I still held myself up to the standard of being perfect at home, which, of course, I was like a zombie because I was so exhausted all the time.
How does it impact your family?
Tremendously. Well, my son really resents me, my oldest son. He said, you worked all the time, Mom. And I didn't know how to get out of it. I couldn't see what I was doing to myself. And, I'm like, well, I'm doing it for you guys, because I did make a lot of money. And,
Be with it. Just be right there with it now. So do you think the money ever made up for you not being there?
No, obviously not. And of course, I can see that now, and I apologize to him 100 times. He resents me because I wasn't there for him.
Has he been receptive to the forgiveness process? Have you shared that with him as a way of maybe dealing with some of that?
I have, but, not to the level that I need to.
Yeah.
And so, I've always had this I have to be perfect goal, And, you know, in the last few years, I've done a lot of work, and I've really lightened up on myself a lot. And so, you know, but I had not ever remembered until last night. Oh, I remember I set that goal for myself. I see now how it ran my life, you know, trying to live up to that goal. And so I canceled the goal.
Ready to become a retired perfectionist?
I'm ready to not have anything to do with perfection. It's overrated.
Absolutely.
I am perfection. I don't need to do anything to become perfection. I am it. And I've remembered, you know, I saw all that last night, but I've canceled a lot of goals about work and all of that, but I had not recalled the moment I set that goal.
It's interesting how something so long ago continuously repeats in behavior, totally unconsciously, being run by carbon-based memory.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely see, ever since that moment, I was never a child again because I had to be perfect. And, you know, I basically took on the role of supervising my older sisters and my mother, the self-designated supervisor. They didn't request that. And, you know, I'm like, you know, you guys are messing up here and there. Of course, that would be projection communication. And I tried to fix it all by me being perfect.
So have you looked at how that's impacted your relationship with your sisters?
Well, I can see as a child how it did. Nobody liked me. But like I said, I've done a lot of work in the last many years because I really, whenever I want to do something, I give it all I've got.
Perfectly, right?
Perfectly. A perfect person would do that. And so I really, 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 from the depths of my soul, wanted to change. And, you know, over the last 10 years, I've changed tremendously. My family are like, I can't even believe who you are now compared to who I was. So I actually have an excellent relationship with, you know, my sisters and my mom, everyone except my oldest son, who still resents me. Although I've made progress with it, but there's still deeper
some
layers.
work to be done. Yeah. Well, you know, it might be interesting to share that insight with him in the story of how that's run your life and unconsciously. And
maybe I'll have him listen to this radio show because, you know, he can just hear how I felt.
Yeah.
I am sorry.
Great. So we'll invite you to let go of being sorry, because people who talk a lot about how they're sorry end up becoming sorry people.
Hi.
And the substitute, yeah, you can let go of that one. And the substitute for sorry becomes, I apologize, I really was off base, and in the future, here's what I'm going to do. That's the replacement for sorry. When you think, and it ties right in with our process today of on creating consciously, because what you can get other minds to join in tends to produce creation. And if you tell people what you're sorry about, you've got their minds joined with your mind and what you're sorry about, strengthening that very thing, as opposed to recognizing I was off base and an apology, and then getting their mind to join with your mind with a new behavior. So what would that new behavior look like with your son?
Just an open dialogue of, you know.
So I'm your son.
Okay.
How about telling me about it, Mom? You know, I really resented all those years that you were just not there. And when you were there, you were like a zombie. I felt like I didn't have a mother. I felt like I was abandoned and alone. And it really hurt a lot.
Christian, I apologize for years that I spent working like that. in hindsight, I can see that what I thought I was accomplishing by working hard like that would never have been worth anything compared to being with you and having time with you and letting you know I really love you. I see that my goal was not, a worthy goal, and obviously I can't change those years. But I would like to go from here forward.
What are you feeling?
I'm sad that I didn't have the understanding, and I gave up a lot.
So did I. Actually, I didn't give it up. It was taken from me. And I'm pretty angry about it.
I understand. I don't know. I mean, I can't go to the past to change it. I would like to work with you to process your anger and mine. I would like to work with you to process both of our feelings in this situation, because I really would love to have a loving, sweet, easy relationship. And I'm completely committed to do what I can to work with you to get to that point.
So there's not much sweetness left to me about that.
I understand.
It's pretty bitter.
I understand.
So what do you mean by process it? What do you mean by I don't understand? I don't know what to do with it.
Well, I could go into a very long story about how I got to where I am and what I have. But there's a thing called a power person. I had a power person, and the hostility and fear that he held in his system brought up issues for me that then I lived unconsciously in my life. Because of my power person, even though my father was my power person, even though he lived in Australia, as a 12-year-old child, I was still trying to please him. And I felt like becoming perfect would please him because that I would take care of the family. And so I can see that I've become a power person. And you have anger in you based on this situation. I resonate the anger in you. A lot of times when you're around me, I can feel you get, upset. Forgiveness is for us all to look at. We have it and let it go. It really is your anger because you feel it. I resonated, coming up with it. The process is a process canceling the goals that you thought would be there for you, is to be around for you, which any child would expect to be around for.
So am I getting that you did the same thing as your power person did? Because I can remember you telling me stories about how your dad was never there with you.
I did exactly what my power person did to me, unconsciously. And I don't want you to follow the path that I took. Because it's a painful path. And I would like I can go to stop and get conscious and eliminate, cancel this from our system so that it can end with us.
So then I have some things to forgive, you're telling me, from my interaction with you and you not being there and working all the time. Does that mean that you too have some things to forgive with your dad as your power person? Is that going to benefit us for you to work through that?
Yes. And I have been. However, obviously, as you can see where I'm at right now, it's not completely done. So I'm still going to work on it. All we can do is work on it. Completely processed and gone. I understand the will that I have. Here's the way to do it. There's still your feeling, and I can't process the story. If I could, I would be able. That's not how it works. If you feel them, they're your feelings. You have to process.
But I've got your support in doing it, because I don't have a clue how to do it. I don't know what you're even talking about.
Absolutely, you have to. I love you with all my heart.
I accept.
Good, let's do it.
So will you show me how to do this? Yeah, cool. I'm on it. I'm ready to be done with this. I see how it impacts my relationships too. It's not good. Thank you. What a hug. That's big stuff. Oh, my God. Well, actually, we don't have our retired perfectionist hat here, unfortunately. But we used to have an old, floppy, ugly, dirty, nasty-looking hat that when people decided to become retired perfectionists, you get to wear it for the next couple of days. We don't have one, but imagine you're wearing one, so you get to move through that. That's powerful. That's awesome. Wow. And I think that, perhaps sharing with your son Christian the power of goals and how it runs behavior, how it runs our lives. That it's what generates the realities, and then of course dragging ourselves through the process. And shared with us the other day that 20 years in that job, and you did a 6-pack of Diet Coke a day, caffeine, phosphoric acid, aspartame. I mean, not a glass of water in 20 years, so it was either coffee or Diet Pepsi. Well, this you had to stay awake, yeah, but it speaks of the adaptability of this human system that you're even alive. I mean, aspartame. You start doing some research, folks, on aspartame. If you bought into the lie that aspartame will keep you slim and trim and healthy and all that, boy, do some research. The stuff that's happening with that is just unbelievable. So I acknowledge you for your process, Connie. That's pretty awesome. And several of the folks know Connie from the radio show. She's called in and spoken several times. She's here at the Intensive at Heartland. And is everybody else in the room breathing? Nobody else ever faced that one, right? From the offset, tell us about it, Richard.
Well, when she was talking about that, it brought up, I had actually been working on, after, just so we connect with where I was the client for Connie yesterday, and even though she was imperfect in her work was absolutely wonderful, and it brought up some stuff for me that I needed to clear out, in particular a lot of grief, and so I did some worksheets last night more on grief to let some more come out. And it's interesting that one of the issues that came up for me was my relationship with my mother. And bless her soul, she was a very nurturing person. And I had, come back to the farm as a place to be while I sorted out some things in my life. And my mother had come to me one day wanting to console me, wanting to help me. But I think I was so angry that I couldn't accept her love at that point. I remember rejecting her, and I know she felt very hurt about that. So I experienced it from the other end, and I rejected my mother. And I don't think it ever got solved even by the time she passed away. So I'm having to live with the fact that I never cleared my anger to be loving to my mother before she passed away. I'm so sorry, Mom. I left my anger and resentment get in the way of our love. That I couldn't be the person you wanted me to be. Mom, I know you were a very nurturing person. I saw the things you did. You're the most loving, giving person I know. And I deeply apologize for my behavior towards you. I truly believe that if we ever cross paths again, I'll do my best to be loved and bring your presence. Correct. I cancel my goal of doing my best. I will be loved in your presence. Thank you. So anyway, one of the things that came up for me when I was the client for Connie was this having been karate chopped in my throat. And this morning when I was meditating, I could feel that contraction of wanting to protect my throat. So the work that you did yesterday allowed me to experience that and feel that contraction in my neck now, which I may have been aware of it in this contraction, but I never could understand where it was coming from. Now I'm starting to understand that that's my way of protecting my neck yet. That could be it. I'd begun to do mostly because I was totally confused at the time. I didn't understand why he ever did that to me. I do remember being with him one time. My dad had done some work for them, so we had an opportunity to get together, and we played in the fields together. So I do remember being in his presence after that, and basically being there to forgive each other. I don't remember holding any anger and resentment towards him at that point. I just remember being with him so that we could be in a space of clarity, I guess you might say it. Right. Thank you.
Anybody else got anything happening? I mean, not much going on yet today. Nene, what's happening for you?
Hello. Well, I wanted to acknowledge Connie and thank you for bringing that up, because I've been working with that too, about me abandoning Missy and being first abandoned emotionally in my family. And when I came here 13 years ago, and I was, I came here from Venezuela to the United States with a job offer and everything, and then like 6 months later, everything was completely different from what I expected and I wanted. And I had to start working like you did, hours and hours and hours. But also, part of me is that I said, well, I came here for the American dream, and I cannot just go back to Venezuela later. So part of it, I understand now, was that in my family, one of my brothers was the favorite. Whatever decision had to be made, or whatever, he was the one my father talked to. He decided where we wanted to go to school. He decided how to the trip. He worked with my dad in the company. And so I wanted to surpass or be the best or keep getting attention. So I started working and working. My daughter was 12, and it was different here. The babysitter, the law was different. So for me, learning the taxes, the law, the money, it's all.
Go ahead.
So, I got there, cab, and my father, I said, hi, Daddy, what was that? So I decided to think, and that there's nothing else but and it's all true. And I remember walking to the city, and I said, oh, I remember this stuff for my mother's and before I walked there, I was thinking that it was my and it was like a whole picture of you in a sidewalk. He said, I saw, and I got the clinic. I think it. So, not to thank you because I felt from work because all day, but that makes it better. Now, work.
Michael?
That is this.
We can't hear her.
Thanks to this extraordinary. Thanks to this extraordinary workshop, which I invite everybody to, make room in their agendas and do whatever to come here and do it. Thanks to that, everything's surfacing and a lot more clear. And, I've done my work, and my daughter's now better about her arthritis. Now she's in a different medicine, and eventually that's my goal now. So I realized that I had to cancel my goal to be the best, better than any other of my brothers and sisters. Because the money I made and everything, I sent it to them because I wanted to be, the favorite one. I wanted to be that. And in doing that, I lost myself. I lost my connection to myself, to love, to my daughter.
See, in there. Go for it.
And so, I felt very united to you. I resonated. And each day I'm here, I realize that there's so much stuff to be clean. And when we clean something, we also help the other person. And then we really are one because of that. In the awesome presence of being loving and innocent that we are, that we also are one in that dissociated mind that has run us for decades, for years, centuries, millennia. So I'm happy and I'm letting it surface and let it go.
Next layer.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. Anyone else anything to share?
What's happening for you, Dave?
Well, it's not Connie's process was incredible, and I just want to honor you, Connie. It is so awesome. Can't think of any other word as great as that. To see how much you've shifted and moved through that, and the dialogue that you did with your son, with Mi-chael acting as your son, really brought you out of the guilt and into what can we do about it. So you moved out of shame and guilt, and now you're into, present tense, new creation. It was a beautiful process. And it also was bringing tears to my eyes, and I'm thinking,
What are you feeling? What's like feeling and thinking for you? You want to get out of your head and you still feeling?
yeah, just, I don't know, maybe I could have found ways to be there more for my daughter. It used to annoy me that she used to get straight A's and do really well because it was out of balance with contributing in the home or something like that. And instead of feeling proud of her, I would put that down, and then she would get a lecture. She did really well. So she was probably like, I wish I could get out of this car and get to school as fast as possible so this would end. I'm thinking about it, Super achiever, valedictorian in her class, and went to Princeton, did really well, honor student. And it was just that, I think if I could go back, I would just honor her for all that she did, because her life was about what she wanted her life to be, and maybe I wanted her to have a little more balance between the home and her academics and studies, and it wasn't there, and I think I was disappointed, and I was speaking from my disappointment. So maybe if I could speak to her, I would say, I would honor her choices for her life, and instead of being sorry about it, I think to learn from that is that I'm not, I am sorry, but I don't want to use the word I'm sorry, because you said sorry, saying you're sorry makes you a sorry person. So I guess in the future what I would do is to honor her accomplishments in the way that she would like to accomplish in her life, whatever she wants to accomplish, and she's doing really well, and
you absolutely have the opportunity to communicate with her and clean it up.
Right.
Responsibility for your part in it, the unconscious part and the resentment. And there's still plenty of time to communicate, honor. That's supposed to be something I would do. Maybe it's something I will do, I choose to do. What are you feeling?
I would have had that life too if my educational career hadn't been curtailed because
Agree with that.
Well, when I was in boarding school in India, it was such a nice structure, good student, top grades. Everything was systematic, well organized, like things are over here. Things ran well, and you had your time to study, and everything was balanced. And then when I went to England, and I did my A-levels there, I told my dad, I don't want to go to England, send me to India. I want to go to there was a spiritual university in Pune, Dadavaswani, and I wanted to go there. He said, no, you have to go to England. Your sister is gone there, and now you have to go to England. And I went there, and we had so much freedom and liberty, and there was no structure, and there was no food. I ended up getting a slab of cheese for breakfast, a slab of cheese for lunch, and a slab of cheese for dinner. That was their vegetarian diet for me. And I must have developed a terrible yeast overgrowth from just going to a village store and buying ice creams and chocolates, and my body got lazy, and I couldn't even get up for classes. My teeth started to go. I had to keep going to the dentist. And I didn't do as well. And then I got into the London School of Economics.
Julie, carry on for a minute, please.
But I feel bad because all the good stuff she's doing.
So it sounds like perhaps your response to her was maybe based in jealousy?
No, it was not jealousy. I was happy for her. I got it. I just want to say how proud of her I was as well. But it was just sad that I got derailed due to just all the traveling around we did and all the family stuff. And stuff in that generation was heavier than for this generation. And I wanted my daughter to do well. I programmed. I made a little tape recorder before she was born, before I was even pregnant. I want to have a wonderful child. She's everything that I asked for. She's everything. She's wonderful.
I noticed that you had resentment.
I had resentment.
And it sounds like maybe some worksheets on jealousy, what she got to do that you didn't get to do, might help to clear some space and have cleaner communication.
Okay, thank you.
This might be
useful. You're right. You're probably right, I think I did for her what I wanted to do for me. Yeah. I supported her, and I feel now, I was telling my husband and my daughter, I said, I've done for you both. Now, what a wife and a mom does, and now it's my turn. I'm pregnant with you. I literally feel that. Some interesting stuff there about how I could resolve things with my daughter. I appreciate that. I'm going to write it down and do some worksheets on it tonight. And the other thing I want to add is that Michael has a very amazing process called MindShifter that we did. And I was like, he said, it stirs up stuff so that you can release it. And why would you want to stir it up? Why would you want to bring up the ugliness? Why would you want to bring up all the bad stuff? Because then you're going to spew it all over all the friends that you have in your classroom, and then they won't like you, whatever, you know. And it was... Right. Okay. Oh, gosh. So, yeah, forgive it. But I just want to say that the process is amazing. And very briefly, what you're doing is increasing the amplitude of something in your subconscious so it comes up into the conscious by purposely putting a statement which your subconscious probably wouldn't believe, and it would go, oh, yeah, and then come up with all the stuff from way back under, which is amazing. So I really want to honor Michael for coming up with that process. And then once you've got all that stuff up, there's another beautiful process that we did yesterday, and we practiced it some more today in our free time, which was the energy field work. And that was one of the main reasons that I came to this workshop. So I wanted to learn how to do that with my clients, as I had a fantastic experience of what that did for me when I was in Fort Lauderdale in my first Why Again workshop. And practicing it with friends today has made me realize even more the power of doing still point breathing with the energy field work. And if for nothing else, I would encourage anyone who's listening into this to just come here and experience it for yourself.
Cool.
All right.
So one of the things that you might want to look at.
Those. How many years were you in school with that kind of dietary regimen? 2 years.
2 years. And then after that, I hope it.
So 2 years of a slab of cheese for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, it takes about 5 pounds of milk to make a pound of cheese. And milk is filled with not only addictive hormones, there are things called casomorphins in milk. A couple of things that might fit with some of the things you're dealing with physiologically. Casomorphins are actual morphines that become addicted to. People become addicted to milk and cheese because of the casomorphins. And particularly today with milk, and so much of the milk is infected with BHG, bovine or BGH, bovine growth hormone, which accelerates growth immeasurably. You know, you look at young women and young men today and sexual maturity coming so early, and they're just gulping down these hormones that are crazy to be putting in the body. But, you know, they're approved by the FDA, so they must be okay. Excuse me. Take a look at that one. But then a third thing, you're talking about some risky factors or some being precursors to diabetes. There are some medical doctors that proclaim, I haven't tested this myself, but there are medical doctors who are saying that there is a hormone similar to insulin in milk, and of course 5 times as much in cheese, and that those hormones are seen as invaders to the body, so the body creates antibodies to them and then starts to attack its own insulin. And they're saying that 6 months, there are several physicians who've been experimenting with people with diabetes, at 6 months with not one molecule of anything to do with dairy. Because one molecule, the immune system goes back to work on it, but that's 6 months, and diabetes is disappearing. So you might want to look at whether or not you still use cheese, if that's in milk, and if that's a problem for you with every molecule of dairy. According to these physicians, and you just go online and check it out for yourself, but there's several MDs that are saying remove every molecule, and the immune system stops fighting this insulin-like
substance in the body because it's been removed, and then the insulin goes back to more normal function because it's not being argued with by the immune system. So those things might be useful for it. Not a molecule of anything to do with dairy. Not a molecule of anything to do with dairy. Because if you put a molecule of anything in, what's going to happen is, oh, it's silly. We got to keep making these detectors. We need to make antibodies to this. So they're saying, if you take one mouthful, after 5 months, you start the process over again. Because the immune system goes back on alert and says, oh, got to fight this. Yeah. Anybody else any share? David, how are you? Oh, he's dancing. All right. Yes, 2 minutes. Did you have something to share?
I'm going to talk a lot, though.
Marie?
Yes.
Okay. There we go.
Actually, in the still point breathing that we did yesterday, there were eyes that were coming. One eye that were looking at me at the end of the tunnel, and I did not understand why. David suggested maybe now you can feel safe to be seen or recognized. But he said to me, it will come to you later. And in the next mind shifter that I was inclined to do, it came up. It's like basically like Connie, the driving force behind her behavior and pattern in life appeared to be, one of them appeared to be perfectionism, mindset change. I was brought and shamed. My mom was extremely shameful.
Wow.
And that's the first time it's really, actually I think the first time I really cried here when this came. So, but I just take the analogy between the eye, one eye that I was seeing and looking towards me, and now I think I clearly make this connection.
Let's not do the closure thing, Jeanie. Let's just go ahead. Go ahead.
And then I did a worksheet on that, and that has driven my behavior in my life, and that's why I never understood why I have all these beautiful things that I'm always ashamed of.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Mi-chael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the
show over.
Kicked in.
Yeah, I heard